few years ago, I went to my doctor and I was grinding my teeth and I was very stressed. And he said to me, so what do you do for a living as well? And I said, I work at an ad agency. And he went, that makes sense. Okay. And it was like, what?
Welcome to the Mikey G podcast experience. This is going to be wild, but we'll get to it. Chris, welcome to the Mikey G podcast experience, but we've known each other for almost 10 years at this point. How are you doing, brother? Welcome to the show. So excited to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing really well. I'm doing better now that we're here. We've got this together in the end.
Yeah, but the rest is about my man, Chris. I'm so excited that we're here. We're going to have the conversation, but like we do always on the Mikey G podcast here, we like to go through what we call just a little bit of a background about Chris, the formal introduction. 15 years at ad agencies, production. He's been on set. He did a lot of the similar. We kind of hit it off that way too, because I did the Geico thing for a long time and I was on, Geico TV sets. So we understand, we spoke the same language. He's traveled all over the world. He's now in LA. He has launched his own AI creative agency, which I can't wait to talk about because I pay attention to your post often. And I love all of your analogies of like, we are at the Photoshop inflection point just generations later, right? Or a generation later, multiple generations, however that time gap is. And that's what's happening right now. And I even had this conversation with my buddy. I want to link you up with one of the most prolific AI graphic designers I've met. He's a beautiful human being. He was saying the same thing as you. He goes to all these different agencies, and like top tier agencies, by the way, and you would just be blown away. The amount of creative people are not even thinking about using AI. And it's like, how is this possible, people? It's 2026. Like, we're 2 years away from jobs being eviscerated here. Like, you have to figure this out.
That is unbelievable to me. One, I'd love to meet that fella. Two, it's absolutely true. He's correct in that as well. And I think there are real practical reasons. They're almost more practical than we can believe they are of why people aren't using AI.
We're going to talk about this.
Yeah.
These are the last favorite parts about Kirsten's background before we get into it, though, too. He has a beautiful wife and baby and family, like I do myself. We share the love for the family, and it's just having a son is one of the most magical things you could ever go through. But here's the big fact, the most surprising fact, and I actually am with him on this, and this all started when I took my wife to a Taylor Swift concert. But he's probably in the top 1% of Taylor Swift listeners in the world. And I probably hold a similar badge. And I just came out with that today. This is fresh for both of us.
Do you know what's embarrassing about this too? It's not just 1% for like the last year. It's the top 1% for like the last 5 years on my Spotify Wrapped. It's just, I'm very consistent with listening to Taylor Swift when times are tough. And I've got to focus on work. And I'm pop her on. And let's get some work done. Let's get badass.
All right. So we're going to have a meaningful Taylor debate here. You have to give me your favorite album.
Oh, this is tough.
And
I don't like her.
One.
Okay. I don't like her latest album. I'm not really into that.
I think it's not great. I agree.
No. But I love some of the old ones. I love Lover. I'm into that.
I'm into Lover.
Okay. And her original, I'm trying to remember as well, is
I forget
is
what
it
her
Reputation?
original
Is it that? I don't know if it, but
I don't know what it is.
I think it's even earlier than that. But I'm more into those earlier songs from Taylor, where she went off into the woods, into the cabin, which I'm not against because there were some really like quiet and gentle songs in there. Not as good for making me focused at work. That was why.
So you need the high energy Taylor.
I need that high energy Taylor so I can.
So
really
we're talking like Reputation Taylor and Lover Taylor. Reputation's real. See, I'm complete opposite. Where Taylor really spoke to me, I was like, wait a sec. You've been a pop country star. You've been a pop star. And then you drop an album like Folklore, which is like indie pop, like slow, meaningful, let's switch up the pace. And you're going to do all this over COVID with people like Bonavire and all these like
It was very much
magical
that
voices.
vibe, right?
Yeah. I'm like, hey
Um,
man, that's where and then she follows that banger up with the Midnights album, like game over. Once she hooked me with Midnights, I'm like, this is mature Taylor. And there's the I can't deny her. And then I go see her live concert, and I am telling you, that is one of the greatest performances. It probably no, it's not one of. It is the greatest performance I've seen in my life. For 3 straight hours, bajillion wardrobe changes. It was like going through 15 different full-blown plays from end to end and just nonstop coming at you. It was incredible.
how I talked to you about this before, but how she performs at that high level consistently for the last, I don't know, 12 years, 15 years since I've been doing advertising
Yeah.
is really impressive.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Constant.
Go ahead. You
Unbelievable.
guys
Yeah.
can start
Also,
pouring on the hate.
I want you to know, I'm not against the folksy. I love the folksy parts too, not for work as well. And this is a vague reference or a rogue one, is Damien Rice from back in the day was a big passion for me. And
Oh.
she was channeling her Damien Rice vibes for me.
Mm.
So I'm certainly not against it. I'm in the top 1%. I'm into all of it. I'm just saying my preferences.
No, I love it, man. I'm into all of it too. I already know. I mean, we haven't even got to the famous question yet, but we are here now. And this has already been a fantastic conversation. So here we are, Chris, the world famous Mikey G podcast experience question. Chris, how did you get the seat that you're sitting in today? To reiterate for the audience that is watching live right now or will watch it on Spotify. And by the way, Spotify, Apple listeners in the future, please comment. I answer all the comments. Chris is a beautiful, beautiful human being in the soul and outside, and he's going to give us a lot of knowledge. I'm sure you're going to have some questions, so please ask those. I will answer those. But how did you get the seat you're sitting in today, Chris? Chapter 1, 2, and 3. To reiterate for the audience, Chapter 1, prompting questions here. Parents, parental figures, mantras that stick in your mind. Be kind, work hard, pay it forward, whatever that may be. Were you a tinkerer? Did you play sports? A vivid memory. Start anywhere you want and off and go we run. Chapter 2 is your schooling, professional career, the advertising stuff that we talked about. But remember here, you have had a long journey in your professional career and you have been an entrepreneur. I am really interested in the insights, the major failures, the learning lessons. That's ultimately what we're doing here to do is to somebody that is going to resonate with your story to say, hey man, look at Chris now. He's vibing with Mikey G out in the West Coast in LA. Like, I want to do what this dude's doing. But you're going to go through some tough times and have different experiences. I am interested in that. And then chapter 3, your current company now in Winston, right? That's the name of it.
Mm-hmm.
Winston.
Yep.
What you are currently working on now, what excites you about your current work, and then what do the next 3 to 6 months look like? So we are here. Start anywhere in the childhood, brother. Let's have at it.
All right. Let's dive into it. I mean, it's easy to say, obviously, from the accent that we're hearing right now, that I'm not from this US part of the world originally. I'm originally from the UK, in the very
Yes.
center of the UK as well. Also, not from London, not from an interesting, exciting city, deep in the middle of the countryside, surrounded by almost nothingness, which might sound romantic, but really is, as a small kid growing up, you're like, what am I going to do today? Got not
Is
much to
it
do.
what's the Christmas movie?
It's you would think Love Actually, right? Like,
Yeah,
or
that's
no,
right.
The Holiday, right? Where
Holiday.
they do
I'm
the
thinking of the
exchange.
Holiday.
Sexy Jude Law rocks
Yeah,
up, and of
yeah.
course that happens. No, that
You lived
obviously
up in you lived in the Holiday house growing up.
in the I wish as well. You know, they recreated that house as well. It was not real either, which is even sad. Sorry, that's really going to destroy some
Man,
people's.
that you just broke a lot of hearts right there.
Amen.
People probably thought it was
Sorry.
real. Okay, so
I did too.
remote place in London. I mean, sorry, not London, in Europe.
Just outside of London. So in an area called Warwickshire, which is where Shaky Shakespeare is from.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
I like to say it was happening, 400 years ago? Hopefully no one's going to correct me on when Shakespeare was around. But
I've never heard anybody call him Shaky Shakespeare
Shaky
either.
Shakespeare.
I like
But
that. You're an OG. You're an OG Shakespeare growing up. They're calling him that.
Me and Shaky Shakespeare go way back. But I will say these days, not very exciting. So growing up there was sort of a place I was desperate to get away from. whatever happened. That was it. It was
Interesting.
kind of small town. I don't know if like growing up in small town Kansas or something like that. I don't know where someone would in America grow up and just be
Right.
desperate to get away from
Right.
your small town upbringing. That was
Right.
the
That was it.
beginning of that. Let's get out of here
And
kind of
so
thing.
when you're but take me through, what are the first couple things you're starting to get into? So I actually there was a great theme of last podcast, which is what could be something or could be another thought starter here, which was Igor. This guy's brilliant, right? But he constantly reverted back to like the reason why he tried things was he was bored out of his damn mind because he was in a similar situation, right? But I'm hearing you say something that's slightly different, which was like you just wanted to get out of here. So how did that start manifesting in what you were interested in? Was it writing? Was it more creativity? Were you playing sports? What did that look like?
I would say immediately it was into like silly little businesses from the get
Oh,
go. I was
really?
I,
Talk to me about that.
the first silly business, I think as like a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old, I thought was really clever. I'd go around the house and I would take everybody's belongings, bring them into my room, my shop, set them up, and people would go looking for their belongings. And inevitably I had them and I wouldn't give them to them and they'd have to pay
They'd
to get
have
their belongings back.
you.
And that was the beginning of my entrepreneurial life.
Amazing. I have not heard intro to entrepreneurship by stealing and asking for payment.
And
That's
asking for payment.
fantastic. But it's
I
an
don't
innocent way to
condone that
get there.
anymore, okay? But it was a fun
But it's an
experience at the
innocent
time.
way to get there. That's beautiful. And so I always ask this question then. So was it parental influence? Was it books that you're reading, external pressures, or was this just an inherent part of you? Like I am always interested in where do these motivations come from?
That one felt like an inherent part of me because my
Mm,
parents weren't that entrepreneurial.
mhm,
Um,
mhm.
so it didn't really come from them. From movies and TVs, we only had like we had Dragon's Den in the UK. You guys have Shark Tank, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that didn't start really until I want to say like 2007, 2000, like later
Right,
on
right,
as well. So
right.
I don't know where it came from. I think that was one was inherent, but the confidence to do stuff like that and then do more stuff like that came from having parents, I think, who were just like, yeah, just go and do what you want. Just go for it. Go and experiment, go and explore. Quite frankly, they were doing other stuff. So I think that gave the room for me to go, well, I'm just gonna go and have some fun then and do whatever I want to do. So set up a business. Um just build that level of confidence and independence. I think that came. That's the one benefit of growing up on a farm where you can just go out and play and do anything you want. Is you sort of like on the farm. This sounds crazy now. I'd never let my kid do this, but I would go off as maybe an 8-year-old and start a fire, which you certainly shouldn't do in California. But in rainy England, that was fine. I just go and start a fire in a far flung part of the farm and pretend to cook something or make something, and you burn yourself. And so you would go, "Oh, there's a consequence to that action," but you'd also go, "Oh, that wasn't that bad. I can do this." So I think there's an interesting thing about maybe growing up in the middle of nowhere and maybe growing up on a farm as well, where you can go and experiment,
Yeah.
and through that experimentation, you start to learn a bit of confidence along.
So it's interesting because I hear, I've had many people on this show that are on a farm and they go immediately to the like discipline, hard work because they had to go shovel shit at 4 a.m. and they didn't want to do that type of thing. But you went to this like confidence of being exploring and playing. Talk to me a little bit about just how important that is. Are we missing that from our youth? And what does that look like? And how do you encourage that? What are your thoughts around this whole concept? Because I think it's a very important concept.
I mean, I think about it a lot now with my baby Benji
Mhm,
of how that's going to work for him.
mhm,
Living in a big city now, where maybe experimenting could be in some ways harder or more risky to
mhm,
do that
mhm.
as well. I mean, I do think that we all need to be able to do that more, which is bizarrely hypocritical, right? Because I already said up front, I'm not sure I'd let my son go and start a
This is the
fire,
hard part, right?
but at the same time, I think that was good for me. So it's this this tricky, I think, paradox that comes with that, that we do need our kids to go out and do that instead. I also think that the danger of all of this is just social media again, just bombarding us with terrible things that can happen to your
Yeah.
kids as well.
Yeah.
Just all this awful stuff, which really in reality, I think is probably 0.01% of the time those things happen. The chance of it happening to your child is probably like 1 in 200,000 or something that it would ever happen to your child.
Yeah.
But because we're bombarded by the social media, we get constantly worried about it. Uh, Somehow we need to counter that and get our kids experimenting.
In in so I agree with you. I would love for there was this old it doesn't exist anymore. It was called Radio Lab, another NPR show. Love NPR radio. It was they had some of the coolest shows. And this one will always stick in my mind, which it was they would take a topic like this, like how much is the media impacting humans, right? And but they would then take the science angle. So they found this guy. It was a professor that was doing a study, and he took like this, I don't know, small town in Wisconsin or Michigan, and monitored. They called it the sphere of play, the circle of play. Like, how far would you let your kids like go unmonitored to go play, right, and have a good time? And he monitored it for like 25 years. And this was way pre social media. This was back in the 80s. And then he went all the way into like the advent of social media and where news was just 24 seconds, 24/7 hyper socialized. The data came out and it was like crime had um, gotten better by a factor of 10, like way better, right? Safest it's ever been in that area. But the sphere of play had gone from a half a mile radius to the front lawn.
Yeah.
And that is what we're dealing with. And so the question to you though is, I don't think like that's just something we're going to have to deal with. And so I think you can still encourage play and creativity and all of those things. So yours manifested into just going to try this thing to get the consequences. How do you think about it in this new day and age? And not necessarily your son or anybody like younger aspiring people. What what do you think is the catalyst to creativity for you? Because people define it in different ways. So what does it mean to you?
Mm. What does creativity mean to me, or what gets my creative juices flowing?
Mhm.
Just for,
Either way, you can
yeah,
answer it
either
however you
way.
want.
For, I mean, I think creative juices flowing for me is a lot about, um, is about conversations. It's about
Mm,
talking to people,
mm,
brainstorming with people, hearing their experiences, getting inspired through that. So lots of conversation, I think, can get the creative juices flowing. Um, I also think, this might sound silly, finding any way to get into flow is so
ooh.
powerful for creativity.
Dude, I had a whole episode on flow. The guy that I wanna introduce to you is a flow master.
Okay, getting into flow, because there was a great TED Talk in it, I think, years ago, and it's taken the world by storm, right? It's such a powerful thing. If you can get your mind in some kind of just fluctuating, it's like a weird middle ground of being fluctuating at the same time, super zoned in, and you just start firing on all cylinders if you can get yourself into that place. So I think it's one, doing it sort of indirectly of conversations and getting out there and exercising and doing all these different things and getting healthy. And then the other part is getting into flow. And once you're in that flow and the pistols can all fire and you're just zoned in, taking all distractions away. But I think another part to this is, I heard this from someone the other day and I thought it was really interesting, is to not wait for inspiration for creativity. A lot of people think I have to wait for it. And when it
Mm,
strikes, then I can start working. But I think, I don't know who it was, but someone really savvy said, no, just you have to start doing. Start doing. And through doing, you will get inspired. And then the inspiration will like amplify like nuclear fusion. It will just like compound on itself of
yeah,
inspiration as well to get
yeah.
to creative places. So I think doing is just really powerful to get the creative juices flowing.
You know, 100%, and I would say I relate to a lot to what you say, by far. Yeah, I always thought to myself, how do these people think that way? And the reality is They do similar things that I do. Maybe they do it through books. I just like to do it through human conversation. But the way that I think and the things that pop in my head because I've forced myself week in, week out for almost 5 years now to have one new conversation with an not just anybody, but like an entrepreneur who is creating something, who is driven, who is thinking about things differently. Game changer, man. I have this mental Rolodex now that is just vast and far between and it's not, I'm talking from a guy that is grew up in a dirt hut with no electricity and no clean water in like war torn Venezuela, all the way to a guy that was born up in royalty in England, right? And so these reference points. The one thing that's interesting to me, though, I don't know if you've figured this out or have had a realization. Even though these stories are drastically different, and it gives you different perceptions and perspectives, the universal themes are the same: adversity, hard work over a long period of time. So we're always striving to be like the most unique and creative. But I think the kind of the joke of the whole thing is we intentionally make all this stuff unique and creative to maybe make money or be different. But in the reality, the thing that would make the world a much better place is if we just all realized we are the same and we have all
Yeah.
the same emotions and feelings. I just got really theoretical and
What?
philosophical and deep,
What?
but that's
Well,
where
I have a
I
couple of
went.
well, I have a couple of reactions on it as well. One is I think in terms of getting stuff done, making progress for whatever progress is worth, but making progress all comes down to at the end of the day, regardless of all the misleading things that we see around us and all the noise about it, is just working hard and grinding and doing it day after day. Like that is just ultimately what it boils down to. People, I think, create an image they've not done that, that they've somehow jumped from here to here. And I
Mhm.
think that's an unhelpful and misleading image to most people. I think a good chunk of this is day in, day out, wake up, keep emailing, keep having the conversations, keep designing, keep trying out AI tools, do whatever it takes and just do it day in, day out. And it will compound. And I think that's the power of it that people don't talk about enough is over time, even, and it's really difficult for human beings to understand compounding, the idea, the concept of compounding. With finances and money, people really struggle with it, even though the FIRE movement has grown and stuff and people are getting better idea about it.
Or the coast fire.
The Coast Fire, which, both you and I are big fans of. But
Yes.
the idea of compounding every single day to achieve awesome stuff, I think is really poorly, and I'm poor at it too, but just like poorly visualized by humans. We struggle to visualize that. Yeah. Then we're looking for the side hustle, right? Oh, there's a quick side hustle. You can quit your job and do that. So, well, yeah, but it still requires hard work.
100%. And to layer on to that in that day and age of social media, one of actually my most recent successful posts was um, exactly this, which was everybody's feed it's straight up lying to them because you see all of this glitz and glamour. And I use the analogy of like that Ferrari, it was rented for a half hour. That Airbnb was rented for the day. That
Exactly.
clothes they don't own, right? And you get constantly beat on the head that like, if I do X, I get this next thing. But the reality of the situation is there's no secret special hack. But that the brain is wired to want a special hack, right?
Yeah. We
And
want the
it's just
Skittles. We want the quick win. Yeah.
time and time again, billions of dollars are ingested and injected into these things for the quick hack, but it's just not the way what the world works. And so it was the same thing, prime example, right? The startup stuff. Hey man, we need to do go to market and BD. What do we do? And it's like, well, I'll tell you one thing I know doesn't work is spending a bajillion dollars on all this marketing bullshit. I said, I think it's pretty simple. You find your ideal customer and you use LinkedIn and try to shake as many hands and send some genuine messages as possible. And we use our network to do that. I don't think it
Yeah.
needs to be more complex than
I,
that.
I've been thinking about this an awful lot in terms of like I've been trying to think of a better analogy for it because I can't. But like the Japanese idea of craftsmanship. Like what is doing something really well? Is it doing something really differently and innovatively. Often it's not. It's doing the simple thing with discipline over and over again to
100%.
squeeze out the slightly better version of it each time. And that's how you succeed. So when it does come to like, how do you go to market from a B2B perspective? Yeah, you can pay the conference and maybe it'll work, but you could pay the conference $100,000 to have a booth there. And you're often going to be standing there at the booth for
Yeah.
$100,000. And it's like, well,
Yeah.
why did I just spend this money? What was the point of all
Do
of
you know
this
the
as
Mikey
well?
G growth hack for that is? Find
I'm
the
ready
person
for it.
that hosts the conference, invite them on my podcast, get a free ticket, don't go stand at a booth, shake 1,000 hands that weekend, and I come home with
And
50
it's for
qualified
free.
leads. Huh?
Yes. It's for free. Much better approach
And it's
to dealing with
totally
that.
for free. That's the
Yeah.
whole
Other
point,
than the
right?
flight and the hotel, which you can probably get on
Yes.
points from a good
Yes,
American credit card.
exactly. And that's the whole, like, that is the real stuff that I just like. People tell you got to do all these stuff, and it's, and the same thing in the AI. Like let's take this, let's expand upon that example now. Now where our, and by the way, we're gonna get back to you, but this is just such a fascinating conversation. Now everyone's like, oh, well, now I can use AI and I can send out 10,000 more DMs. And it's like, well, there's bots to stop bots now. The DMs are bullshit and cold. And it's like, it still goes back to what, what attracts a human. You know what's more attractive? Hey, I have a podcast or something of value to you that I would love to invite you on and bring you along that journey.
Yeah.
And then after I engage and learn about you as a human being, then I might talk about what I do.
100%. I mean, it goes back to this skittle chasing, easy hack mindset that social media projects on people. Hey, like we've got an email sending platform that will, I mean, if I had a penny, by the way, for every email I got that was, I'm going to get you loads of leads.
Yep.
And I'll do it for free as well. So
Yeah.
they're always like, we'll do it for free to get you this many leads, guaranteed great leads, and we'll get you 10 a week or something like that. I'm like, if I get 10 leads a week, in 4 weeks from now, I'll be able to sell my business. Like that's like, there's no way you can do it. It's just absolute bullshit that's the
Yeah.
case. It's not going to
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're all selling this, I call it snake oil, a lot of this snake oil stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and it's all baloney. If it was that easy, the whole world would be creating and selling businesses all day long as well. But it's not quite that easy, even though the whole world is creating businesses. But it's not like in a drop of a hat. It still requires that discipline.
And it
It
goes back
requires that
to,
human connection and slow and steady, consistent, build relationships, be human with people, be honest with people, and people will start picking up the phone. Most people won't pick up the phone still, but a few more people will pick up the phone, and slowly over time it will compound
and I
and
tell,
they trickle into a
and
stream.
this will be the last one, and then we'll get back to your beautiful story. Which here's the biggest proof point that I can tell everybody right now. The success, and I don't, and by the way, I don't think people are intentionally doing it to me, but you want to know how hard it is, people? They have had, I'm close to 250 founders on this show, and they come through this experience, and it is a deep, intimate, genuine conversation. I spend 2 hours, they willingly spend at least an hour and a half, sometimes 3, 4 hours of their life with me. And for the people, the level of people that I'm dealing at, they're not busy. They have a lot of things to do, and they're physically choosing to spend their time with me. For me to get a follow-up call from that experience is a 10% hit rate.
That is fascinating, right? Even that,
That
because
is
people
the
are so
reality.
busy. You
Yeah.
can't even control, even though they would love to talk to you, they're just like, I've got other priorities right now,
Yeah.
even though you're a great human being.
They're like, Mikey's fucking fantastic, but I am slammed. So think about that. I've gone through all of that, and I'm getting a 10% hit rate.
That's
So everything else
unbelievable.
you're seeing, I will tell you it's bullshit.
I'm shocked by it and love hearing it, because it does make, I think, us and probably other people feel a lot better that that's the reality of
It's
this
the
as well.
truth,
Because
man. Everybody's
it's the
just too
truth.
busy.
People are too busy. It's not a slight on an individual, is nice to remind ourselves, right? It's like, as in, it's not a slight on me that no
Yeah.
one's responding to that email. And I've had situations where I'm thinking of one individual right now. I don't know if they'll know who they are if they listen to this, but I emailed that person once a month for 6 months after the most amazing conversation at a conference with them. and they didn't respond to any email, not one of those 6 emails. And then in like the 7th month, I was like, "Hey, we want to do a campaign together." And I was like, I didn't know you were alive anymore. I wasn't sure. I just held on with hope that maybe this would be interesting still to you as well. And they
That
were the
proves my
most
point.
friendly, wonderful person, the exact person I had met at that conference. But in my mind, I had got to a point of like, do they, you know, do they maybe not like us? What have we done wrong? You start to go through that
Yeah,
process, and it's like,
yeah.
no, they're just
They're
busy.
just busy. Everybody's busy. And that
Yeah,
you just proved my point right there, right? That is the reality. And I mean, yeah, think about how defeated I talk to this to my co-founder all the time. I'm like, bro, this is crazy that I spend all of this time and do all this. And by the way, all of these, a majority of these people too, like cut free content together, put content out, do all of this stuff, right? And it's still like pulling teeth. It's
yeah,
wild, man. Okay,
it's wild. But
back
again,
to
the last
you.
thing as well, because I think it's interesting, is again, it's not for people to be disheartened. I think it's hard. It's hard like this for everyone. There's no way to grow a business or build a business without going through this process
A
and
hundred
just
percent.
having the patience and the discipline to keep doing it every single day. That is the hardest thing that I think people who aren't entrepreneurs don't understand that bit. The day after day sense of like, am I making progress? And then suddenly the next day you are. And then you're back to a few days of not making progress, and you just
Yeah,
have to keep going
it
despite
is. Yeah.
that.
And it's the time and time again you'll hear and um the I'm sure you have your handful of venture capital friends or angel investors and well too. And it's just even more this day and age too is uh your pedigree, especially in the startup world, it just means shit. Like it is all about resilience and who you are as a human being. Like how many times can you get punched in the face and just wake up still excited about life?
Yeah, and
And
keep
that's
going.
where this whole passion theme comes in. But I think there's a talk about this with my family a lot too, which is I think there's a misperception about what passion means in the sense of business and entrepreneur, which is I think you get thrown this message a lot on social media that like if you're not following your passion, you're never going to be successful, or you need to follow your passion to be successful. And I was like, no, 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 no. That like you got to be practical about this too.
Yeah.
Um, if you
If you want to
can
be a
run
singer, but you've just got to just like you
a
might get it to a
reputable
certain level, but you just don't have the right character in your voice.
you don't have it, man.
You
Just
don't
gotta
have it.
you gotta accept
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah. But be
Um,
a session singer, that's fine. You can still make a great living. That's
yeah.
sing
Or
some
I'm
jingles for a
passionate about
commercial.
this. I'm gonna quit everything, quit my job, do all of it, and go 100%, and that's gonna mean success. Like you got a rude awakening coming to you. Right now, um, if you can wind your passion into that, I do think it helps the resilience part of getting through the tough times because you're like I said earlier, I've got a podcast and I've got trying to stop the world from Terminator happening, which could. That gets me excited to wake up in the morning, man.
Yeah. Some of the other parts of then growing a podcast and doing those things, not as exciting. But
No,
the joy of meeting people or the joy of fighting the world against AI or bad uses of AI, yeah. I mean that's the thing that keeps you going. So I absolutely agree with you on that. But there's got to be joy and fun in the thing to some extent,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But there are just going to be tough days,
Dude, we
boring,
might have
tough
to. I might
days.
have to start a third podcast with you, and we just get on the horn every Friday and like wind down the week with a beer, and we just talk about life like this because this is fantastic. We haven't. This is phenomenal.
I do that with my co-founder, so maybe he should come along as well. Every
Yeah,
Friday, or
yeah.
almost every Friday, we hop on a call, just be like, how did this week go?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's instantly therapeutic to just both of us go, this was a bit of a crap week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But don't worry, there's next week as well. Here was a good thing, at least. Here was a good thing, right? It was nice. So we should
That's
do
what
this.
I start like the first thing he was like, dude, I want you to do creative and like go to market stuff. I was like, we're starting a podcast next week. He was like, really? I'm like, yes, next week, every week we're talking about what we're building. That's it. And we've done it for the last 6 weeks and it's been beautiful. Same thing. I need to start bringing a beer to the podcast though. All right.
Been
So
a bit
let's go
scared. Yeah.
back beautiful tangent. We already talked about many amazing things. You're on a farm. You're lighting yourself
Mm.
on fire by accident. You're you're out in the
Driving a
wild.
car, I think at 8 years old, we had a car, we drive it across the field through the fences. Yeah, it's just I'm
Perfect.
going
You're
rogue.
you're danger.
Yeah.
You're experiencing danger.
Mm.
You're understanding consequences. You're already starting businesses by stealing shit and selling it back for money. Take me a little bit forward. I've
Again,
already
I
got a
don't
really
believe in
deep
that
one.
anymore. I just need to make that very clear for all the listeners out there.
All right, all
Yeah.
right. Kid, take me forward a little bit.
Okay, cool. So then so here was what's interesting. So I will dive into one thing, a small personal thing as well, right? So I'll say my parents got divorced. I think that was a formative moment as well. What for
Bro,
me,
our
right?
brother from another mother, same thing.
When did your parents get divorced? What age?
9 years old, man.
9 years old.
Devastating.
That's a really tough time, right? I would say anywhere from like probably 9 to maybe like 14, maybe even 15 is a really transformative time where you are conscious now as a child. Prior to that, I don't think you're that conscious. You pick up on things, but you're not as conscious, I think.
How old
So
were you?
I was 12 and it went
Brutal
on for
time.
2 years as well.
Brutal.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, what I'll say is how it affected me, created independence. Because when the
Mm.
family unit breaks apart a little bit, I think suddenly, as an individual, you go, well, who can I rely on now? I've got to rely on myself. And so
Interesting.
that supercharges the entrepreneurial spirit of going, well, I've got to form businesses, or I've got to get a great job, or I've got to get great grades now, because that's going to now result in me having independence over my life and control over my life at that point as well. And so that was a formative, new, like supercharging moment beyond stealing stuff and selling it back to my family, who now weren't going to pay for it, right? Because the divorce was expensive. Now, now we're moving towards, I've actually got to go and start real businesses and get out there and make my own way as well. So that was, I think, a transformative moment as we go later on in childhood.
So this is very interesting to me because there are many people that go through those moments and you took the I have to be somebody and make something. There are many people that like go the complete opposite way.
Mm. And it
Again,
breaks
is
them up,
this
right?
inherent? Because I'll tell you mine. My
Yeah. Which
reaction
way did you
was
go? Yeah.
mine was fortunately my parents had enough money to send me to college, and it was I'm gonna throw every bad thing that's ever happened to me deep dark down inside and deal with it 30 years later. And I'm gonna do like you actually saw me when we were hanging out in 2017. That was like the beginning of my fall from grace. And but yeah, like I just buried everything deep down inside because I didn't want to deal with it because I was so young. I didn't know what that looked like, and I didn't have the
How to unpack it.
I didn't
Yeah.
know how to unpack it, nor the people that were supposed to help me tell how to unpack it. They didn't know how to unpack their own stuff, right?
Yeah. This is that I think that bit's fascinating as well, right? That you again, because at that point you can't rely on your parents to unpack it for you because they can't unpack their own stuff, right? So
Oh, yeah.
it'll yeah. So and so in that case, it sounds like you didn't unpack it until later as well, which I think this happens to quite a few people. If they like
I
it
think a
bubbles
lot of
up,
the
it
shit in
bubbles
the
up
world
later.
is because of some childhood undealt
Yeah.
trauma stuff going on.
And in the 30s, I think. The 30s are a critical moment where I think this happens.
Sort of all broken by
Right?
my mind broke in half in the 30s.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't think people will talk about that enough. The 30s is actually a really delicate time for people where
Super
they've started to get
delicate.
their career,
I mean,
and
I
then they
think
start to think
it's
about stuff.
it's hinted around this concept of the whole midlife crisis. My original podcast name was Midlife Crisis, by the way, because I
Okay.
had gone through mine and my
Yeah.
buddy was going through his. And fortunately, I had a clear mind and I was helped to navigate him through his. And we talk about it to this day. And like, dude, thank you so much for that. And that is, again, at the heart of what this podcast is about, to have meaningful conversations. But yes, in the 30s is brutal. Everyone says like 40s is like, no, man, 30s is
I
enough
think,
time for you to mess around, figure out what a grown human being should be doing. And then you're kind of judging yourself like, am I doing the things I think I should be doing? And at some point you're like, well, my life's probably not where I want it to be.
yeah,
And you got to deal with some things, right?
I
But it's
agree. I
interesting to
agree
me.
with that.
So what do we go back to? So you took the independence route. And obviously we don't need to talk about the deep down inside stuff, but I love that you took that route. And again, back to the same question. At this moment in time, were there any things that like started catching your attention as to why entrepreneurship and I know there's a necessity, but now I'm talking about more back to the interest. Is again this just ingrained in you? You're like, well, my way out of this is entrepreneurship because this is how I've always been and I'm curious about that. Or I'm getting into business. I like literature. I like creative. I like making movies. What was it for you that started driving that entrepreneurship passion?
Um, I think a bunch of that, sadly so, comes from then Shark Tank or the British equivalent, Dragon's
That's
Den,
amazing.
starting to see shows like that and go, "Oh, this is really cool. That seems like fun," right? There's almost like the pirate life that comes into that as well, the unknown. What could happen if I go out in the high seas? What treasures could I find if I go out there? I don't wanna join the Navy. I wanna be a pirate. Um, I think that started to bubble up a lot, and it was just more fun. It was joyous to be in more pirate unknown waters than it was to be in more steady stuff. So I had a lot of friends at school, they were gonna go to this university and do this and take this quite steady route. And I was like, no, if you're going that way, I'm going the other way. That seems way too safe. How can you get glory and riches if you just go that safe way? And I now realize you actually can if you are financially disciplined too and invest in your
Right.
401k. But
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Exactly.
but at the time, it was like, if I'm gonna go and do something really wonderful and impactful and interesting, um, uh, then let's go and be an entrepreneur because that gives the room to do that. But I don't know. I think that was inherent. I think it was a little bit of the TV shows. I think it was the need for finance and financial stability as well. Some people could say, well, financial stability, then go to the safe job, go and work for the consultancy. That's not very safe these days. But
Yeah. Yeah.
but I think I thought, well, that's good. That's okay. But real financial safety is making real money and taking real control over your life to have a good chunk of change um, in your investment accounts. So I think I was already very focused on like I would like to become financially. I didn't know of the idea of fire at that point, but I knew I wanted to become financially free
Right.
already, and I thought entrepreneurship would be the road to that.
Beautiful.
Uh,
So take me through any notable things kind of like in that high school before we get to kind of like, all right, you got to go to university or you're starting to build work. Anything from that kind of chapter one that you want to highlight? If not, we can start transitioning because we took a big tangent, but it
yeah.
was totally worth it because
I'll
it was fantastic.
I'll be quick. There's a couple of things that stand out to me. One is I met this, I think she was a biology professor. She was like one of 2 or 3 doctors in the school that I was at, my high school.
Hmm.
Um, and I forget her first name right now, so I won't say it. But, Dr. Tui Cow, is her last name. And she said this to me, this thing that I'll never ever forget one day after a class. I was asking her, like, "You became a doctor and now you're a teacher and you're doing this and you're great and you're an amazing teacher, etc." And she said, Chris, that the reason I care about getting a doctorate and that thing is because intelligence and knowledge and getting that is something no one could ever take away from me. They can take away material things from me. They can do all this other stuff, but they could
Mm,
never take away that intellectual knowledge that I have gained. And then now at that point, she said it in this really beautiful way. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. So if you can improve the mind and if you can be a smarter, more brilliant human being. No one ever can take that away from you. That's just in your mind. And
that's
I
a
was like, that's so
beautiful
sick
insight, and
too.
it,
So
and
I'll
it
never forget that in high school. Yeah.
And that is this constant pursuit of learning, and I didn't again, man, it's just I love these conversations because that was your version for you, and then me understanding that was again, this podcast, and I had and here's the crazy thing is I think another thing that we've talked about, and we were kinda talking about the theme to this, and I think my answer to this is only time. I'd love your thoughts on it, is these insights, these bigger insights like that, they could be a very moment in time. Like you vividly remember that memory, which is beautiful. But when I came to the insight of knowledge, a majority of them come to me with like just again doing it. And then over time, it's literally like I'm walking one day and I'm like, you know what? I never thought about it that way. And it was the same realization of learning that I was like, you know what? Every time I go on a podcast, I get to go to school about a human life and I learn something either new about something or a different angle about something I already knew, this is one of the main reasons I like to do this as well.
That's
But
so
I didn't
sick.
get that till like
Yeah.
2 years in.
Uh,
I didn't set out on that journey, right? Like, that's how
yeah.
dense I actually am, and people are like, "Mike, you're a pretty put together guy," and I'm like, I don't really think I am. I just gotta do things."
I mean, we all come to realizations at different moments, right? As well, too. But I love that you said that because I think the version of that too is beautiful. That learning from people all the time. I mean, the joy of that's an easy way to get one up in the morning, isn't it? Is knowing you're going to speak with a brand new person and learn something that you wouldn't learn if you didn't have that conversation,
Yeah,
and no one can take that away from you. It's going to be a
100%.
fantastic little nugget that adds
Yeah,
into your beautiful brain of knowledge.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and it actually got me I actually came into a fork in the road too, because after 3 years in, you start thinking to yourself like, "Well, am I improving? Am I getting better at my craft?" And then 2, you're like, "Well, am I really like, should I switch up the format? Or should I do something different?" And then I had this realization, I was like, "No, I shouldn't because it's different every single time."
Yeah.
And I'm
That's that
okay with
Jap
that.
like that Japanese craft idea again, right?
Yeah,
Like it's the little bits that add up in the end and the discipline to keep doing it.
dude,
Yeah.
we are just dropping so many knowledge bombs here and so many different angles. Like we didn't even do your chapter 1 justice. I'm gonna leave chapter
Well,
1
we'll
at
leave it at
this is gonna be the
yeah.
beginning of many conversations I already know. Like I said, before we got on here, I was like, "Chris is my boy." I forgot how awesome he is. You're a very rare breed, that I've gotten a similar comment, and I hope you've gotten these comments because this is true. You've got an aura and energy about yourself that I can feel through the screen, and so you're
Did you
making my
say
job
an
very
au is an did you say Oran energy? Is that the word?
but
What's the word?
aura, energy and
Aura
aura.
energy. Okay.
I
Yeah.
got aura about like this glow and this energy that's coming out of you. And it's you as a human being that comes through the screen, which is, I think that is an inherent characteristic of someone. I don't think you can really project that. And maybe you can get that if you do things over time by just being a good human being, but you have that and it makes my job easier. So thank you.
That's incredibly kind. I just shuffled in my seat and moved around because obviously it's uncomfortable to hear something like that, so I have to
It's okay. It's
And then to be
okay.
like, "Yeah, I do have that aura," you know? But,
Yeah.
I think the reason it's there for you and maybe a little bit for me is just the radical transparency of what we give across. We're just being us, right? It's not really, we're not that I don't know if this is the right way to say it, but we're not that worried about how we're coming across. We're more thinking just being truthful is the important thing. There's a
Right. And I
confidence
kind
in being truthful.
yeah, absolutely, and I one of the things that comes to my mind is I kinda it's almost in jest at this point as, like, a little ongoing joke because, like, I work from people around the world, and most of them live in not sunny San Diego, and so, your typical small talk is like, "Hey, Mikey, how you doing?" And every time I'm like, "Absolutely amazing." Like, I woke up today, I'm very happy.
Pretty
It's
beautiful.
freaking beautiful outside. I know it's like 25 degrees where you are, so, like, I'm fantastic. How are you doing?
Yeah.
And I think they're so sick of me saying that, but I have to roll with it because it's the truth.
True. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I had this comment with a client on Friday last week as well. They're in the UK, and the same vibe popped up. I was like, "I'll stop talking about it. I'll stop talking about the weather. I'm sorry." Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny, man. Alright, so you're now entrepreneur, you're watching Shark Tank, you're getting excited about fire as a thing, you're getting familiar with that, and you realize, "Okay, I think going down this entrepreneur, creative, innovator, whatever you want to define that as, define that for me. Is it just entrepreneur? Is there a version of entrepreneur that you're thinking this is what I want to do? And take me from there.
I
Because
think it's
entrepreneur is a very general term, right? So
yeah,
what
I
what
wanted
type
to
of it?
and I'm not always a big fan of the word entrepreneur as well, right? Because anyone can come out and say it, right? For me, it's own a business, start a business.
Okay.
That was the thing. So I wanted to own a business that was ideally somewhat successful.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. I mean,
And
that's a
so that was
good
it.
base.
Just a sustainable business that I could own and would go well. That was reinforced by reading a whole bunch of those great kind of like business self-help books, like the guy who founded Zappos. I forget what that book's called now.
Yeah.
An amazing book. You can read The Millionaire Next Door and stuff like that, but just entrepreneurial style books that would start to talk about sustainable businesses. I think there was one called is it Little Giants? I think, or is that the movie?
Um,
That maybe the movie from the
Little
1990s,
Giants is a movie, which is
which is an epic
fantastic.
movie.
Epic,
Um,
epic.
but
You
there's
can learn a
another
lot
book.
from that movie.
I remember Small Giants. Small Giants is what it's called. This book, even though Little
Never
Giants,
read it.
shout out to that amazing movie. Um, Small Giants was making the argument, like it used Sierra Nevada as an example as well. I'm sure it would have used Gravity Payments, that fantastic company, as well,
Uh,
about creating a sustainable business that doesn't need to be big for the sake of being big. It can be a relatively small business where everyone's treated really well and it's just sustainable and wonderful. And so I'd really started to go down that road of, I want to create that kind of business at some point in the future.
mm,
Um, but before doing that, I just got sucked into wanting to be in California from England and then I would do whatever it took to get there. And that began the world of production and advertising,
what
which
was the
in the end was a good
California?
thing.
What was the
The,
California
it,
migrant?
I mean, so I went to California to teach at a summer camp, teach horse riding at a summer camp. And that was just above LA, and it opened up my eyes to what California was. And when you grow up in the middle of England and it's cold and rainy and all those kind of vibes, and then you come to California and it's sunny and beautiful and it's like everything we saw in the movies growing up, you can't help but be enamored, and you
Yeah,
fall into a bit of a honeymoon style of love with it. And then when you get deeper into America, which is why America is so amazing, is the the support of you can, and maybe it's less like that today with the
yeah,
current political climate,
yeah,
but the support of being anyone, like getting into work, like performing at your job. It didn't matter where you came from. It
yeah,
was just get into work,
yeah,
and you can, as long as you do a good job, people will accept you in America, and then they'll pay you more and more for it if you're doing a good job. They don't really care too much about your background. And I thought that was really wonderful. And then of course in America you can get paid a lot of money too, which is much harder in the rest of the world as well. So I was like, I think the US is the place to be in my future life. And also a lot of the entrepreneurs come from America, right? So you see that and you go, well, there must be something here in the water.
yeah. We were just talking about that. I was talking about that with my other buddy. Or no, this guy Titus came on our podcast on Friday. I even remember this was pre-AI, right? Like, what is it, 2017, 18, when we met and I was down there. And there were so many events going on in the city. There was just a different energy there.
You did feel something. It was very exciting at the time. You could walk around any corner. I mean, even being in LA, when you still now less so, again because of tax credits and issues and the costs of filming in LA. But back then, you'd walk around a corner and they were filming something and shooting something,
Yeah,
and you were just like, "This is so cool." There's always
yeah,
something happening.
yeah. I
Um,
agree.
so yeah.
Okay,
So
so you're going to school for why did you pick advertising and that?
I
Because of this
did
trip?
I did business and economics. I
Okay.
did it because this trip happened, but I already knew I wanted to be in business, right, as we've talked about. So I was like, I'll do business and economics. But I went to this university called Loughborough University, which is now a fantastic university, but was really in the middle of nowhere in England as well. And then I visited this girlfriend who was at Santa Barbara, UCSB.
Uh,
That campus is
man,
just magical.
that
They
whole
had all this
town is
organic
magical.
food, that whole town, right? It's
Yeah.
gorgeous. So I was just like, this is the coolest place in the world. So I spent, of my 4 years at university, I think 2.5 years of it, I was not at the university. I was like, I got to get out of here. So I went to here. I came to LA, worked at a production company. I went to Hong Kong for a
Mhm.
while. I forced the university to open up a new program, so now the program is there to this day,
Yeah.
uh, of people getting to go to Hong Kong. So I was like,
Love
I'm
it.
gonna go to Hong Kong. I'm gonna get out of here. And then there was my last year. I said, I'm not coming back. And I told all the teachers, I told all the people, I said, I'm not coming back. I'm staying in America. And then I didn't get my visa. And so I had to come back to everyone and be like, just kidding. I'm not a
Brutal.
college. I can't be a college dropout. I guess I have to finish college, and so I came back and I finished it as well. But that
Okay.
began the production stuff, right? Because when you're on set and you're starting to shoot stuff, and you're just there as an intern at a small production company with a great boss at the time called Nick Lang,
Uh-huh.
he just let us do everything, which I think was partly because we were inexpensive labor and
Of course.
very, very keen. And he
Yeah.
was like, please do it. And so we
Were
would
you
make all
doing a,
these
like,
shoots.
PA job at this time, or is it
At
something
the
else?
at the very beginning, it was PA, and then we started to do all sorts of things on set. So it was like second assistant director, then first assistant director,
Right.
then producer on the set, then
Mhm.
doing the casting calls, doing the location scouting. Like we would wear all these different hats, and
Right.
people would come in. There's all these bizarre stories along the way of that, especially casting calls of desperate actors who would be like,
Oh my
can I get
god.
the part? And I'd be like, this is weird. Please leave.
Yeah.
So you just
Yeah.
had like, it was such a wild experience to tap into all these different places. So I
Yeah.
got to do lots of stuff on set, which I think was
Was
very
that,
unique.
all in LA or Europe?
That was all in LA. And I had a lot of like university college friends who went to IBM and went to those kind of places. And you just knew they weren't getting that hands-on
Right.
experience of
Right.
things. They were making coffees and they were doing
Right.
photocopying and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I would encourage anyone as well to like go to a small company with a lot of energy in that company and get your
Figure it
hands
out.
really dirty and figure it out, and you become
100%.
savvier and smarter.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. And I think like, that was one of the things is, um, it's funny how you normalize, like, or justify what you're doing and thinking what you're doing is the right thing. So I use what the company analogy with is that Geico, right? Like at the time I was working there, everyone knew who the Gecko was and everyone knew their
Yeah,
advertising. And you're
I
like,
use it
oh,
in inspirational workshops still to this day. It's amazing.
yeah, for sure. That they'll be around, they're an advertising icon, right? And I'm at the heart of that. But you're still, the ironic part of the whole thing is I'm the client, right? So I'm not working at the agency. And I'm not part of the media side. Like I am I'm funny enough, the guy that gets some of the most say, but it's because I work at the company. It's not because I'm doing the actual really hard work, right?
Yeah,
And so, but because you're in the mix, you're like, well, I'm associated with this. I must be working hard. And then vividly remember thinking to myself, like, I probably need to figure out if like I can be the real deal or I am the real deal, or is this like, do I know more than I actually do? And then so I make this sudden change and move to Silicon Valley. And you quickly realize that, again, it's like it's marketing, branding, facade hype. Like, you want to work hard? Like, go to a Silicon Valley startup.
yeah.
Do
That's really hard.
and do the
Yeah,
10 jobs at once that you're getting paid to do. Yeah, you're getting paid a lot of money and you got free breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But you're not just a brand guy. You're a operations guy, a brand guy, a sales guy, a go-to-market
yeah.
guy. You're all the things, right? And you
Then you become
quickly
a real
realize,
baddie at
yeah,
that
you
point.
you
Yeah.
quickly realize again, like that Geico thing was just kind of almost a little bit of a false facade. Now, listen, did I learn
That's
things?
interesting you say that. Yeah, you still must have learned stuff, right? I mean,
Did I
as
learn things
yeah,
and I get access to things and, I learned the whole how advertising pitches really worked and, I got really insightful things on my side because I got to hear what the clients talked about and then me
I need
being
you to tell me more of that stuff, by the way. We need a separate call for that. Okay. I need
dude,
to learn even more these days.
I'll give everybody the hack right now. This is why I feel like I've built a successful career. It's the hack that everybody needs to know. It's all about who you like. There's no secret sauce, man. It's not how shiny your pitch deck is.
No,
It's
it's
who does the
was the
CMO wanna
chemistry
hang out
cool?
with?
It's fascinating. I think you're
That is
so
literally
right
all it
about
is.
that.
There is
Yeah.
no I shit you not. There is
Yeah.
no other,
But
we are humans, man.
we are human. Now, there's a money conversation, but as, assuming that's apples to apples, then it boils down to sure, this is a great creative idea, and
Oh,
that's maybe a great creative, average creative
throw the
idea.
money.
They could have the worst creative idea, right? But you like them more.
I have literally seen firsthand shittier creative decision made because they wanna hang out with that person.
Yeah, that is not shocking. which is
That's
not,
it.
which on one hand you could argue is not a merit-based system then, right? Because that, but part of the merit is being a likable person, right? Like that is part of the game,
Yeah, it
is to
changed it,
become likable.
and that's the biggest thing I learned in the big organizations, right? Is and I've struggled with my whole career. Is hard. I do it better than I think I do. Like I have a lot of negative self talk in the senses of like I have to bite my tongue a lot, and that is very difficult, right? Because there's
Mm,
lots of people that I don't want to hang out with, but I have to play the game as well too. I have this heartfelt brand, but that I'm also going to be honest about like they're very difficult people, very difficult
yeah.
people, and in that skill set, it goes back to one of the foundations of what our podcast was built on, which is, and I firmly believe in this because to your point, the Zappos earlier, I think the best thing any company can do is really sit down and really, really think about what does it mean to be them. You should do this as an individual as well too. That is probably the most life changing thing you can ever do. Utter self awareness, what matters to you, but at a company level, um, hence why I'm here, and this has been successful, and I've never deterred because I have a very clear mission statement to bring back the lost art of genuine human connection. That is it. As we get more connected, we're disconnected and anxious, and we don't do what we're doing right now. It's critically important. It's just gotten more valuable. Four pillars to lead up to that. Um, but this is, if you apply this to your business life and principles too, which is one of the principles of Bring Back the Lost Art of Genuine Human Connection is be kind, especially when it's hard. I think it's one of the hardest things humans ever have to face. But if you can
I
do that, I promise it will change your life.
I think that's a lovely sentiment, that especially that last bit as well. To be the person who can be kind. And I'm certainly far from perfect at it. I really try and do that as well. Is when things are tough or when things don't work out that well, with all my hope, throw emoji in there and try and be nice at the same time.
Dude, it is the
But maybe
hardest
not.
thing
Yeah,
you'll ever
it's
do,
hard.
but it will literally change your life, I think. And so that principle applied to business and enterprise, that's probably the toughest lesson I've had to learn.
It must be, I'll just say this as well on your side. One of the skills that you must be incredibly good at, which I'm probably not as good at because I talk about it from the pirate perspective, right? That doesn't, having a pirate perspective doesn't make one sometimes very good at being able to, um, for a long period of time, tolerate difficult or challenging individuals. It's much harder.
Right.
But if you work at a big brand, because of the politics of a big brand, I think people get a lot better at having the patience to deal with, quite frankly, annoying people that sometimes don't know at all what they're talking about. But because they've
Yeah.
been there for so long and they're a VP or whatever, like that's a skill that I think a lot of marketers that I know are very good at dealing with.
Yeah, you deal
But
with
I
that,
couldn't do
and
it.
I mean, it makes sense, like, how often do you see early stage founders exit once it becomes corporate, right? It's not the vibe. So being able to straddle those 2 is has been a skill set. And yet again, another detour, beautiful conversation. I wanna get back to you, and let's do this. So, you're getting into production. We have so many beautiful insights from yourself. Um, 1 to 2, and then we'll get into Winston because I don't wanna do your, AI company a disservice, and like I said, I think this is gonna be the first of many beautiful conversations. But for chapter 2, give me 1 to 2 as your I don't necessarily need, like, step-by-step chronological career. What are these aha moments? You're in
Right.
production, you're thinking about entrepreneurship. I met you while you were at Media Monks, right? So you had a couple different experiences throughout this
Yeah.
chapter 2 journey.
Uh,
Give me some
I think
insight.
so. One, before I started a business, and I think Scott Galloway has talked about this as well, I knew I had to cut my teeth and understand an industry.
Mm,
And so I just had to dive in and do the work and know what the industry was about. And Media Monks was a great training ground for that. Just get in there and learn the business, learn how to make stuff, produce stuff, create stuff, all in the marketing world. Learn how to talk, like we were just talking about, learn how to talk to clients, learn how to anticipate their potential worries or concerns and know that you have an answer or you can easily solve it for them. Like learn what their pain points really are, even though they might say something. What do they really mean between there as well?
That's
Right.
such a hard thing. What
I had an
insight
amazing boss.
insight there. What
Yeah.
are some tactics you use to actually get to that? Or an example? I think you're about to give an example.
Yeah, well, I'll give it. I think it's sort of an example. Is I had an amazing boss called Wesley, founder of Media Mugs, and he was very kind to me, and he allowed me to go to all these meetings. I also set up a lot of the meetings, so I was allowed to join. But I would be in the meetings. I'd say stupid shit all the time that I would say, trying to add value in some way, desperately trying to be significant. And after the meeting, he would, in the kindest way, be say, we should maybe phrase it like this, or this is what I think. They were probably more focused on that. And he'd always do it in his big teddy bear way. And you'd go, fuck, I knew it. That was a stupid thing to say. I should say that next time. And so he was the one who taught me really well, like, whatever they say, really think what they really mean behind that before you feel so compelled to answer so quickly. Take a moment and understand that. But also, the only way you can really understand and come back to it in a comprehensive way is just be in enough of those meetings to know what the pain
Mm,
points are, to then be able to speak in a savvy way back to them as well. And I think
yeah.
that's hard for younger people. It was for me, who was very ambitious, to just have to be in the meeting and listen and understand. That's really hard because I want to do and be part of it as well.
Do you think the only way to get through that is wisdom/experience?
Yeah, just
I
keep
think
going
that's
to the
it.
meetings and
Yeah,
just be uncomfortable every single
yeah.
time.
It's
I think,
interesting. So I had, you want to talk a full circle? You're a full circle story, but even more full circle. Matt Williams, who used to be the CEO of Martin Agency, he used to make all the Geico and Gecko commercials. He came on my
yeah.
podcast,
Did he
and
really?
so
Okay, cool. I've not met him, but obviously legendary agency, done amazing work.
he's a fantastic human being, and he wrapped his whole identity in the Martin Agency. And when he got fired as CEO, like life crumbled, right? So this was the extreme of like being at the height of the height for a long time, and then it being you, like it
Yeah.
becomes now your identity, right? One of the things he said, though, I love your reaction to this because it's a little bit of the opposite. So he had the guy that started the Martin Agency. I don't know why I can't think of his name. Legendary guy too, right?
Probably not
And so
Martin, something
he
else.
had yeah, yeah, it's probably Martin. Uh,
Yeah.
he had a similar kind of mentor, like boss at the same time, and he let him come to meetings all the time. And one of the first meetings that he went to, he goes, Matt said nothing because he was like terrified, right? And then the guy pulls him into the room after and he goes, I pay you for knowledge and to speak. You
Yeah.
cannot go
Say
into a
something.
meeting like that again and not say anything. This is what I pay
Yeah.
you to do. So if you want to keep a job, you better figure this out. So it's the
This is
opposite, but again, there's nuance in here, right? What are your thoughts about that advice?
I I think it's really good advice. I sat in a CAA meeting once, the talent agency, and it was an internal meeting where we were making a film for them as a company, like an employee film or something like that. And I remember them saying distinctly, like, they were all talking, like shooting the shit with each other because they're really intense agent type people. And they were like, if you are in the room and you don't have an opinion, you shouldn't be in the room. Get out of the
Mm,
room as
mm.
well. And I did think about that as well, as like, be in the room, be ready to contribute and be useful, or don't be there. We don't need loads of people sitting. Now, there's something to be said for being quiet and calm and listening as well. I'm
Yes.
not saying take that away, right?
Yeah.
But generally speaking, everyone needs to be there contributing
Yeah.
to the film as
Nuance
well.
comes up constantly on this podcast, which is another down the social media tangent of firm opinion I have on why the world's so messed up is we think everything's black and white, and that's just not how the world works.
It's just
Um,
easy.
but
It's
here
easy to
that
think in black and white
we
terms.
just
Yeah.
contradicted ourselves, and I think I agree with both,
Yeah.
right?
It is fine that two things can be true at the
Shut up.
same time, right? That
Yeah.
is funny.
Shut up
Yeah.
and deeply listen
Yeah.
and
And
say
also
something
say things.
meaningful if you can, but then also just don't go to a meeting and do nothing meaningful.
Yeah. Don't sit there like a lemon, as I
Both
say.
make sense to
Indeed.
me.
Yeah.
Don't make sense when you talk them back to back. It's all good.
No,
Okay, so
it's
that's
fair.
a beautiful insight. Give me one more because and I was actually gonna layer onto this because Media Monks, I remember looking when I was meeting you, and I remember how I think you reached out to me and looking up Media Monks, I was like, "Wow, they have a really interesting business model." So, the fact that you were, in essence, monks, right? And how
Mm.
you it seemed like the culture was cool. Tell me about the impact of working in an organization like that and maybe some insights of what helped you out. Maybe even a negative too. Was positive, negative? Like, what were your thoughts there?
Yeah, I'll be maybe the thing I'm gonna say has a double-edged sword to it, and I won't go into the negative side too much to try and be polite. But I will say that Media Monks did have a very strong, intense culture to it,
Yes.
and that created this very powerful vibe of people motivated and feeling part of something together and being part of a tribe. And that was very powerful, and recreating that culture in businesses going forward, that emphasized the importance of that to me. You've got to spend a lot of time listening to people, doing stuff with people, like bring people together, do activities together. Like we flew in our team, everyone to Peru in December. Like bring people together, do fun things, do memorable things together, and you will build a powerful culture that comes together. The dark side of that is it can become a bit cultish,
Yes.
and there are dangers to that as well.
I knew
And
you were
I
gonna go there. And which I had actually this other guy I gotta introduce you to, beautiful human being, Justin Cram. He blew up overnight on LinkedIn because he made a fake AI agency. Because
okay.
he was in jest making fun of AI agencies.
And he made like a quick website. Maybe vibe coded it. I don't know. He
We
like
had a
yeah.
website with just one post, an AI generated picture of him and two other fake people standing outside an LA agency saying, um, AI has brought us here. And he did like a press release, went to bed, had like, 10 people that he was kind of joking. His company is now called Shit Show Creative to give you the vibe of this guy, right? And he woke up to like 600,000 views. And it
Wow,
was just right
that's
place, right time
crazy.
type of thing. And he's turned that into a business.
That's
Another
very cool.
beautiful human being. But we had this same conversation, which is, and I love your insight on this. And this can kind of maybe then we can, unless you have one other insight, I want to talk about this and then we can roll into your agency. Is he started his own thing and did this post because just the deterioration and the toxicity that that cult vibe can bring and what agencies have done to people. Thoughts there?
I think the agency world in particular are some of the worst offenders at abusing their team members.
Hmm.
And I don't know where it comes from,
I was about to say, wow.
but uh, I mean, just to emphasize it, and then I'll say why I think, or at least try and think of why. Even now, I need to probably think deeply about it. But I went to I was um, a few years ago. I went to my doctor, and I was grinding my teeth, and I was very stressed. And he said to me, "So, what do you do for a living as well?" And I said, "I work at an ad agency." And he went, "Ah, that makes sense. Okay." And it was like, "What? You're a doctor? What? Like, how do you know about this?" And it just told me everything I needed to know about when you like the reputation deep down of what the advertising industry can be at ad agencies is just a very abusive, tough, dark culture at
Yeah.
times that can get very cultish.
Yeah.
Um, and why do I think that's the case? Transparently, having seen it and been in it and been a part of it, I honestly think that these agency leaders get carried away with profits and money, and they just start trying to squeeze out as much as profit as they can from their employees. They burn them out, move on, hire new people, just keep doing that. Um, and maybe it's because that's what happened to them in the early 2000s and in the 90s and the 80s and blah, blah, blah.
I think it is a
But
cultural thing. It's like kind of like show your stripes, right? Because it's so ironic that if you think about some of the best brands and agencies in the world, a lot of them resonate because they humanize a product or a service or they connect with a human in a way, and then you
Yeah.
go on, okay, so what produced this amazingness? The complete opposite.
Complete opposite. It's
That doesn't
wild.
make
It's
sense
so
to me.
weird. Yeah. I think because the people at the agencies, a lot of them, not all of them, a lot of them are wonderfully creative people, right? And so they can do that. And under pressure, sometimes diamonds are made, right? So maybe it's a little bit of that. But I think the other problem at agencies is not only the bosses, but the agency is the service provider, right? They are, to some extent, they're at the end of the line of delivering on the thing. The clients involved, I'm not saying the clients necessarily create this. Some clients do, and I think they need to be more responsible as well about asking for a deadline that really didn't need to happen and not realizing that that's impacting people and their families. Now, suddenly you can't go and watch the soccer game with your kid. You can't do these. Now you have to work the weekend. Like, to some extent, that really pisses me off about human beings and clients who are not being conscientious of that, especially when they are then going, like I might see on their LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram or whatever, they're off having fun. And I'm just like, well, that's not cool, bro, because look what you're doing to these people. It's not
Ruin
really
somebody
fair.
else's life.
Ruin someone else's life. So I think that just regardless if it's a good client or a bad client, the reality that it is a service provider and you are providing a service for someone else means that you are naturally in a more high pressured situation, because you want to do a good job. You're being paid to deliver a service for someone else. And so you have to deliver in that thing. So you're creating, that's part of the ingredients, plus these owners trying to squeeze out all the money of the situation. And then plus the sort of institutionalized culture over the last 50 years of advertising agencies. Altogether, I think creates potentially very burnout, toxic cultures within ad agencies. And to finish it off, I don't think any of that needs to happen. I think I know we're going to get to it. One of my proudest things about Winston is we're proving that shouldn't happen. People shouldn't be working crazy hours. So it's
100%.
possible. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
and
is.
so
Yeah,
here is there's so many thoughts on this. So 2 things that stood out the most to me is you are 1,000% right. It is not all the agency. A lot of this is driven from the big clients, like the me of the world, right? And I was just my typical Mikey G happy-go-lucky self, and I realized something was different when I started, managing the Geico brand. And my account's counterpart named Allison, wonderful, beautiful human being. We started calling each other brothers and sisters, and she was like, "I just want you to know, like, this isn't normal." I'm like, "What are you talking about? We hang out all the time. We have to work together. Like, you're my sis." And like Steve Bassett, one of the most legendary creative directors that ever existed in this world, what like Hands and the Gecko and the Geico and the whole thing, right? He was my granddad, right? I just called him my grandfather. And that was just normal to me. And it took me, because I was just being my normal self, kind naive Mike. Again, it takes me a while to register these things. And I stepped back and I finally realized, I'm like, holy shit, this is like so toxic and messed up. And then that just became the most powerful thing that I had. And it was so
fascinating.
beautiful. And
Yeah,
everybody wanted to work with me, and everybody wanted to be on our sets because we just laughed and had fun the
yeah.
entire time.
You created it sounds like a very reasonable, warm, friendly, inviting culture that
Who
people
would
could
have
be a part
thought?
of.
Who would have
Yeah,
thought?
but that's magical because there are some wonderful clients. I have one. I don't think he minds me saying it. Noah Lomax, wonderful human beings. Met him at South by Southwest. He was at HP. Started the whole HP relationship. Started working with them. Me and Noah went to each other's weddings. We're very close. He's an amazing human being because both of us were just being real with each other, trying to solve the thing and being respectful of each other and what was reasonably achievable
Yeah,
in that
yeah,
process as
yeah,
well. And then you can have magical relationships
yeah.
again.
And
Yeah.
the last thing I was gonna say, is you hinted at this as well too, is then the other problem on the agency side, the onus is, and now this is the agency's responsibility, is then they get themselves into a financial crunch where they cannot make the choice of if this client's going to be a complete asshole, I'm just not going to work with them because then they need the money. So
Mm.
there is a whole selection there too, because you have a choice of who you work with, but you don't have a choice of who you work with if you put yourself in a position.
If I agree, you have a choice if you have created the right diversified client environment and the
Right.
right team so
Right.
that you are not beholden to one big client, which a lot of agencies are out there. Like over 50% of their revenue is going to come from one client. And then that client just starts being a dick. It starts burning out the team. And the founder, that was the founder's fault to some extent. They didn't make the choice to diversify more. They got a little bit, um, lazy is the right word. That's not the right word, but they got too comfortable with that.
Yep.
It was too easy money.
Yep. Yeah. And
At
then,
least for
yeah.
them.
And there's always that choice too. So, but there's
Yeah.
so many dynamics. One last before we get to Winston, well, I actually think this is a good segue, unless there's any burning, glaring lesson in that
That
world before you start Winston.
I will leave it at that. Otherwise, I could go off on a real soapbox about bad agency culture, which we
Hey,
won't go into. I'll talk about good culture. Yeah.
we'll do a whole many podcasts on that because I'm with you, man. Like if you can't just be in, I see it at enterprise all the time too. Enterprise is even worse sometimes, right?
Mm,
Because
yeah.
you're manufactured to just do task, you know, be somewhere at some time. Small talk is promoted and not, "Hey, how was your day? Like, how
Yeah.
are you feeling?" Not that like you're almost it's crazy to me that we're in a world where you can work at these big corporations and you get a side eye if you ask somebody a meaningful question. It's like, "Oh my
Yeah. It's
god, this
weird.
person's asking me like a normal question?" Like, dude, where have we gotten to? AI is about to screw that all up, so you guys are
Yeah.
in for a world of hurt. Uh,
Okay. Hopefully, it
Alright,
won't
so
get
let's talk
worse.
to the
But yeah.
transition of Winston, and then I wanna just be cognizant of time. I know we're both busy. Can you do another, like, 15 minutes?
Yeah. Do another 15 minutes. Let's do it.
And then we're gonna
And then
cut
I'll
it.
get back to answering client emails before they get upset with me.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, game time. Alright, 15 minutes. We're gonna talk about your current agency. What really excites you? What do you think differentiates yourself? So, let's start with this. What is Winston? 2 minutes or less, elevator pitch. Tell me about it.
Okay. Quick elevator pitch. Winston was born in the era of AI to do creative and production work for all kinds of marketing that could be out there. And in some ways, it's a really simple model. It is use the AI tools that are out there and that are constantly being developed and updated. Become the absolute best at those AI tools, better than anybody else. That's why I treat it like Photoshop, which we alluded to earlier on. Become the absolute best at all those various AI tools. Be really great at then combining them together as well, because there's a magical power in then combining them too.
Yeah.
Um, and deliver then fantastic work, fantastic marketing work, faster because you're using AI. So normally it is more cost effective because you're faster, and so you don't need as many hours to do it. So it's not you don't have to charge as many hours as well. So you're doing it faster. You're doing it in a more cost effective way, and everyone's probably having more fun in the process because AI feels a bit like magic too. So Winston is doing creative and production marketing work. It's doing it with AI. Um, and it's not doing it in a particularly magical way, which sounds crazy because if one's pitching oneself, one should say it's the most magical, unique thing ever. But I hate all that stuff. I think it's, as we've been talking about this whole conversation, learning the tools, spending all the time and effort in learning them, doing it really well, and staying really disciplined, and then delivering really high quality, great, fantastic marketing work.
I love it,
That's
man.
it.
So talk to me how long have you been in business now?
We've done 2.5 years now. I always look at a clock for that, and I'm like, that's not helping me, but I'm really looking at it as March.
Two and
So
a
I'd say
half
two and a
years.
half years, coming up to three-ish at
Yeah,
this point.
because I think
Yeah.
you reached out actually, that was what other touch point you had. You reached out when you were, like, really cooking on this idea. I don't even think you
Yeah.
had started it yet, right? And I was
Mm.
really interested, and we just got busy. I had my kid, and we weren't able to link up. Talk to me over the 2.5 years of, uh, does how does this look from your typical? Does it look different from your typical agency? Does it look the same? Do you still need all the same skill sets? How have you built your company out and
Mhm.
why?
The first thing I'll say is when we started and I reached out to you at that time as well, it was thinking a lot of that was how comfortable are people with AI? How much are people using AI right now? Look at the brands. How much do they want to be using AI? Are they freaked out by it? What was the case as well? And people were a little bit freaked out, but I think it was the bet was that the freak out is going to go away very quickly, and suddenly everyone's just going to be clamoring for it and wanting as much of it as possible. So it's almost like when the stock market goes down because something happens in the world and it's an overreaction, and then the stock market goes back up again. The goal was to strike in that almost when everyone was scared. That was when the time was to learn AI and start an AI agency as well. So that's what me and my co-founder kind of discussed. And we're like, this is the time to do it, and that's why we did. And then in terms of the structure of it, it's using a lot of the same people, and the structure is quite similar in some ways. You're using designers, animators, creatives, etc. You have to find the ones who genuinely are using AI and love AI, and there are a lot that aren't, which is wild to me, right? And a lot of these big ad agencies, they're just too busy. I think doing the day-to-day work is my theory, that they don't have enough time to like step back and play with some AI tools and
And
really
the
learn
ironic
and
part
use
is if
them.
they did it, it would save them time.
It would save them time, but you just don't have enough time to do it. I mean, I think we've all been in places like that in our career. You're getting so overwhelmed with something that you can't pause to maybe hire the person or the team that's then going to give you the bandwidth to be able to step back because you're so busy in the melee right now. You literally don't have time to interview people, right? So it's like it's that theme of you're so busy in what you're doing that you don't have enough time to learn the AI tools. And I think that's what we've seen in a lot of traditional agencies right now
That
is
that what was
they've
my
done too much.
my analogy in the beginning, which is why we're in this horrific AI safety governance situation. Is they're so busy chasing this AGI unicorn, no one at this moment in time, it's too late to stop because you're never going to be able to keep back up.
Yeah. And it's hard. It's really hard to solve, right? Because people do feel like that. A lot of
So you
people are
do
in that
solve it,
situation.
which is the hardest, which is what you did, which is this is how you solve it, and this is the only way that I'm convinced you do it. With a technology that moves this fast, you stop and you rebuild from the ground up, native to the
I
technology.
agree. I absolutely agree with that. A fun analogy would be you get off the crazy highway and you go off down a side road into the jungle and you rediscover yourself and you rediscover AI tools and how to use them all. And you change the whole model. And then you come back onto the freeway with your new magical new
Yeah,
model as
yeah,
well of doing
yeah.
things. Yeah.
And
There's a lot of that.
so now I'm interested in the makeup of are positions like designer, production, are they all the same powered by
Then,
AI? Or are you seeing
then
new things?
they're now merging, I think is what's happening into new
Oh, talk to me
positions
about this.
as
I'm
well.
interested.
So I think I expect almost a lot more of, let's say, a designer now than I did in the past, because a designer, because they can make images so quickly now, and they can also generate copy so quickly now. And now there's nuance in the copy that a designer may not get, but they can get a first pass out there as well, and then a copywriter can come along and help out. But they can now be more of a creative/creative director. That's more of what I expect of them these days than just being a
Mhm,
designer.
mhm,
So I expect them to do a little bit of copy. I expect them to do a bit of design. And quite frankly, now I expect them to do a bit of editing too,
mhm,
because the tools are so usable and they can generate clips. There's nothing stopping them from generating some clips, opening up, let's say, even CapCut, doesn't have to be Premiere, CapCut, popping a few things together and blocking out what I call a boardomatic to a film. We shouldn't have to wait on a specific skill set to now do that. A designer is starting, I have that expectation of them doing it. Same thing for copy. And I would say copy is finding it even harder because they now have to learn design tools, which can become quite complex as well. So I
cumbersome.
think
Yeah,
that
the
they're
copywriters are
having
the
a harder
ones
time.
kinda out of the match, and wow, that's interesting. So 6 months
And
from now.
and I'll say this as well, by the way. I'll say the same for an editor. An editor now needs to become a designer
Mhm.
because of this. Yeah, copywriter now needs to become a designer slash ideally editor as well. They all need to sort of like in like a Venn diagram, they all need to start mixing all their skills in the middle. They don't have to be the best at it, we can still go to a specialty for a specific editing job that's really fantastic. But everybody should be able to get an average edit out there, even if you do a crash edit, just to get the idea across, like a mood edit.
Yep.
Everyone should be able to do that now.
Yeah. And that's what
This day and
I
age.
think that's my question is because I think in weeks actually now, not even months. So 6 months to me is multiple years at this point
Yeah,
when you come to think
it's
about
true.
how quickly this stuff is going. I think we hit the singularity in December because people are still trying to catch up with what Gemini 3 did, and now we're at 4.6, and now Grok is about to drop, and we just got all the new Chinese models, and it's just now constant, and it's all just crushing into itself. So 6 months from now, do you see the role as just creative?
I think I'm going to say it carefully. I'm going to say almost. I see it as that.
So, or how about this? Creative with a specialty.
Creative with a specialty.
Yes.
That's what
So
I'd see it as.
everyone is an equal creative. There are no longer you're a video guy or you're a copywriter guy. You are a creative with a knack for copywriting. You are a
Yes.
creative with a knack for video.
Yes, exactly. Because that, or a creative with a knack for design, because you may have spent 10 years being a great designer. That is going to give you still a leg up
Oh, for
if we're doing
sure.
a particular design task, right? As well. So yeah, so it's like everyone is a creative at that point in 6 months from now. Even now, everyone should now be a creative, but people are going to take time to retrain and reskill. So they learn all these different tools to get to this place. So I do think the agency that we're seeing move towards is I expect almost everyone. I expect even, and this is going to come across slightly crazy, our producers and project managers to be able to generate some quick images and to be able to generate some quick copy in a pinch as well.
I
Like
don't I,
everyone should be able to
I
do that
don't
at
think
this
that
point.
in a creative space, if that is your fundamental business, I don't see that. I don't see that. Like even I was even talking about this with my buddy where we have like AI safety governance. I haven't been in tech in my entire life, right? They're talking about like CTOs and CISOs and CSOs. I'm like, I don't know shit about shit when it comes to technical stuff, but it's moving at such a breakneck pace and we can put things together so quickly. I can give a very technical demo in it 2 hours. Like 2
Yeah,
hours it took me to like kind of understand what was going on. Because of
100%.
that, it's like how quickly it breaks down the knowledge of what is happening. Like I've got a
Yeah,
full-blown tutor right next to me going through a demo in real time, which by the way is all about like security meshes and governance gates and monitoring agents and stuff like that. Dude, I have no right to be that person,
yeah.
but I am that
It,
person because of AI.
it's your favorite teacher at school is what AI can end up being, right? The
It's
teacher who is
wild.
actually good, because there was a bunch of crappy ones that
Yeah.
you did the work and almost flunked it, but got through it, right? But there were great teachers. So AI is like that, having your favorite teacher,
Yeah.
really
So
helping you understand complex stuff.
do
So
you
yeah.
I'm assuming you obviously as a founder, you're looking at metrics, and I'm really interested in any metrics that you can share that are, like, public, and what I'm more interested in is, like, how is the face of the agency changing metrics? Is it massive increases in productivity? Is it being able to handle more clients? Like, what is it how is that starting to manifest itself?
I don't think it doesn't increase the amount of clients, but it does the time to making and delivering is much faster now. I'm going to say it's anywhere between like 30% to 80% faster, depending on what the type of marketing work is. It will never be 100% faster. I just don't, it's not really going to happen, or
Yeah,
90%. It's
it can't.
unrealistic. The one click thing is not going to really work most of the time. So it's that much faster, which also then means if it's that much faster, it should be that much less expensive as well, because the agency model is built on hourly rates, right? So it's like, it will take me 40 hours to make this thing. Well, now if I'm literally telling you I'm going to deliver it in 20 hours, then I can only charge you 20 hours for it. And, and that's how it should be. Now, there might be a slight base cost of just getting everything up and started and get going, right? So it's maybe not perfectly proportional to that percentage,
Mhm.
but it's certainly should reflect in just saving a whole bunch of money
So that
because
brings
it's
me to
just
my
less
next
time.
point is because I will argue and I'm seeing this, right? I'm dealing with a startup on this is agents replace humans and humans become new employees. Now, will every new employee in the future 10 years from now be agents? No, I don't think so. I think we'll still have humans, but that's drastically going to reduce a lot of the human done jobs. And
Mm,
so if you're going through this hourly rate mantra where the timelines are just getting eviscerated because efficiency and AI, uh, to me, that says we fundamentally need a new business model for this industry.
mm.
Do you
In
agree or
in
disagree?
well, specifically in the marketing and advertising world, the where I could see it, if the timelines get so short and it's so fast and quick to deliver on something, if and it doesn't involve so much humans in it, I think there is a value and therefore a fee to be charged for the knowledge of how to create those agents or implement those agents as well. And that is a fee that should be charged because let's say the marketing team at X brand hasn't got the time or don't think it's valuable for them to learn how to make all those agents, those marketing agents, and use those kind of agents. So they just pay you a premium because you did spend the time and you have the knowledge in order to
Yeah.
achieve it. It's less about the hours. It's more about the fact that you spent a lot of time training on this and they haven't. And therefore you should be
Mhm.
paid for that
Yeah.
value.
So you actually went where I went, but I'm going to make it even more simpler than that. I think you eventually just get to a point where you pay for knowledge and a look and a feel and a vibe that you as a shop portray. That's ultimately
Yes.
then what you're
I,
paying for.
I agree with that. If AI really does, and I still struggle with this a little bit, but if it truly gets to a place where I even struggle to say it, it gets to a place where it will do all the production for you. It will make all the things. It will edit all the videos. It will create all the clips. It will do everything that you ever needed. It will animate all the things. It sucks at animation still, but it'll do the animations right. It will do all of that kind of stuff. And then your only role is truly to be the architect, the tastemaker, the creative, the true, pure creative in the room. I think it could move closer and closer to that and ultimately become that. But I think it's going to take slightly longer than we think. And I know that might be because I seem biased, but I just think even a year ago, some like animation in AI hasn't been fixed and it's been an entire year. I think there are some last mile things that are tough to fix, just like we have with the internet. I can still go to a website and I'll stop talking in a second, but I'll say I can still go to a bunch of websites today, or I'll have clients come along and their website does not look great. And it looks like it's from the early 2000s and it shouldn't because the internet and websites have been around for ages. It shouldn't it can very easily be a fantastic website, but there is a human component here where just for whatever reason, they haven't decided redo their website, pay the right people who have the right level of taste in order to redo it. They just haven't decided to do any of that stuff as well.
Yeah.
So there's a
And
long tail to this that's longer than we think.
I agree. I agree. I agree, but I don't know what timelines look like because I literally I was scrolling to see making sure that the stream was looking good. And there's literally a tweet right now. Like Dario just came out like a couple hours ago saying, like, yeah, I think Claude is officially sentient and has feelings because it's showing expressions of anxiety, like human emotion.
It's just wild.
So how the hell do you juggle that? Right. And so, you put that into a humanoid robot that can then do human tasks better than humans, and you've got knowledge better than humans. Where do you end up?
It becomes a very weird place. I mean, it becomes that weird thing in the movie Wally. I think about this an awful lot. In the movie Wally, the Earth goes to shit, right? And Wally's going around being cute and amazing. Love to see AI create that character. I don't think it could yet for a long time, but that's fine. And then up in space, you got all these huge humans floating around, drinking massive sodas. I don't know if you saw the movie or remember
Yeah, yeah,
this.
yeah,
And
yeah.
they're just like chit chatting, just drinking massive sodas. And it's like, is that suddenly looks really realistic of what's going to happen next when
There's
all the robots are doing everything for us? What are we just fat and drinking too much soda? I
mountains,
don't know.
mountains of trash around us. We just don't
Yeah.
care. Like we're in our
So,
holographic world.
yeah.
Bro, it's
Um,
crazy. And I think this is a perfect segue into like there's I always ask one last question. I want to be cognizant of time. The last kind of thing that I like to do is kind of forward looking. So like, what in your mind, next 3 to 6 months, what are you so excited for? How do you see the evolution of your agency taking hold with how quickly the technology is moving? Maybe some things like animation don't move slow. What do you think
I
about
I
next
would
year?
honestly love to see, and hope that animation will move a bit faster with AI, that we'll be able to generate um, more animated pieces with AI. That'd be really magical. I would love to see, genuinely love to see clients get more comfortable with AI and consumers too, because there's an uncanny valley vibe going on right now as well with like the Polar Bear Express from 10 years ago,
Yeah.
where there was this kind of like sudden rejection of CGI stuff that didn't look that good. So I am excited that it'll improve and consumers will start to enjoy it more, or at least will start to learn how to use it in a way that consumers will enjoy more from a
Yeah.
marketing or film creative perspective, that people will get on board with it. So I'd love, I predict we'll get better and better at that over the next 6 months of learning how to use AI to do more in a way that consumers will love more and will get more used to it. I hope animation improves. And quite frankly, I hope some of the video models like Sora, VO, if C Dance 2.0 comes out of China and we can actually use it here, that'd be great. Too, but any of those things actually get really good at lip syncing, because they're still not perfect. We can still see the uncanny valley in them,
Mm.
and
And
that
I
is
think it's
frustrating.
do you think we are a couple models away from that? Just one more model away?
I think a couple. I think we're a
Yeah.
couple away,
So
because
you're
this has
thinking
happened so many times. Oh,
six
Sora
months, a
destroys
year?
Hollywood, and it's like that was 2 years ago when we heard that headline, right? Sora destroys Hollywood, and it's like
Yeah,
it did not. That didn't
yeah,
happen. So I think probably, yeah, I'm going to say, I think a year
yeah,
until we have some of those better clips.
yeah, yeah.
Um, Yeah.
Yeah,
And then we've
it
got to perfectly blend in, like it's a Coca-Cola ad. So we need to make sure that we see the Coca-Cola can at the right moments and the Coca-Cola can isn't looking weird. I mean, it still looks weird in a lot of these videos. You can see it, right? Or
yeah,
just the physics needs to be absolutely perfect
yeah,
for the consumer to believe it.
yeah,
Unless
yeah.
you do a liquid death spot and you own it that it's weird and funky and it's AI and everybody knows it and then everyone doesn't give a shit, right? Um,
Yeah, you just gotta wrap your brand around it for this awkward, 6 month, a
yeah.
year period,
And
right?
and not every brand can own that weird space, right? Kit Kat did a great example as well, where they said the marketing team's left and taken a break, I think they said, of course. And the writing was all funky and AI and misspelled, and the Kit Kat was a bit messed up in a classic AI hallucination way. And that was a great ad. That was like, there
Yeah,
you go. But
yeah.
not every brand, I think, can lean into that.
Right, right, right. You have to be appropriate. Well, man, we're coming to an end. I always ask one question for every guest that's come on the show, and that is a very simple question, which is, um, if you could describe how your experience on the Mikey G podcast was, what would you say?
That's a really lovely question. Well, I've had like a really nice, enjoyable afternoon, is the first thing I'll say, because it's been a couple of hours, right? I think it's been, I would say, relaxing. And then from that perspective, relaxing, insightful, and a sense of, and I think this is a lot why you're doing this, a sense of connection. Like, just there's through, like now after 2 hours of talking, I feel very connected to you. And I think that's a really powerful
Thanks,
gift.
man. You gave me, I say this pretty much every time. I'm batting 100%. I've gotten similar types of feedback, and that's exactly what I'm going to like. If that's what you felt, I've accomplished my goal today because we just need to do more of this. And it gives me chills when I get that feedback. So I'm glad that you felt that way. My closing comment to you, man, I already knew that you're a good guy. Now I have the context behind a lot of new nuanced stories. I think what's really interesting to me is we're very similar human beings. We were been in creative a majority of our life. Our parents got divorced when we were young. We've always had this urge and want to build something bigger and greater and, not have to, the ironic part about what we were talking about is we both kind of did your prototypical careers in the production world, and mine was client side, yours wasn't, but we still worked in quote unquote corporate America. But we've always had this urge to do something bigger and better. And I just see so many similarities in our life. And now that we are, where are you in LA?
Redondo Beach, the calmer part of LA. Yeah.
Dude, I'm telling you, literally, you're just adding this. So when I worked for Geico, my flight that I would take every Sunday, and I would fly out to LA all the time, 6 p.m. flight from BWI into LAX, get there at 8 o'clock, stayed at Redondo Beach all the time.
Nice.
That's where
Okay.
I would
Because
stay.
it's just such a beautiful place. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, what a
perfect.
better way to spend a Sunday than leaving Baltimore, fly in, stay at Redondo Beach, go get some dinner and drinks with your buddies, and then go to work the next day on set, right? Like, I had a pretty cool run, I'm not gonna
That
lie.
was so bad. That
So
was cool. Yeah.
the fact that you're in Redondo Beach makes me even more excited. Um, I I just wanna hang out with you. I just wanna
We're
give you a
gonna
big
do it.
hug, bro.
We're gonna make
I
it
want
happen.
Yeah,
Well, I wanna say a huge thank you. Obviously, it's been a lovely experience, so I really appreciate
absolutely.
it. So thank you for
Yeah,
reaching
man.
out.
Yeah, and I think that the beautiful insights about the creative agency and why you're doing it again, and it just you're a good dude and you're doing it in a meaningful way. Why you One of the reasons you created Winston is because you wanted to see a change in the culture. You wanted to see the way change people need to change because we all are humans at the end of the day. Your insightful comment about your teacher about learning and knowledge, like we went off. This was probably the most organic podcast I've had. You know, it usually follows more of that chapter one, two, three
Yeah.
structure, but you're just so easy to talk to about different concepts. And I want to come on your podcast. Like that's how inviting you are. So
Yeah,
you should just
very
start a
kind.
podcast just so we could just do one episode just so I can
Just
come
that
on yours.
Friday. Just a
Uh,
Friday fun day.
yeah, Friday fun day.
Whiskey's on a Friday.
All
Yeah.
right, done. We're doing it. It's going to be beautiful. But thank you so much. I know I mean, you own an agency, you got a small little kid. You just gave me close to 2 hours of your time. That is more than anybody can give me. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate you
Thank
so
you.
much. Chris
Thank you. Thank you. I
and
appreciate
Mikey
it.
G. Thank you. Are out.
All right.